The next example that we want to walk through is our one-to-many example. Inside the done template, the task collection is the best example of a variety of one-to-many relationships between the tasks and other records inside our project. If we look at our task collection here, you'll see the task title field, and as we scroll down, you're going to see 3 different fields over here that represent relationships to other records that we have in our data collections. So we've got a status ID field, a project ID field, and assigned to user ID field. What's occurring here is we have our status collection where a status can apply to many tasks. We have our project relationship where a project can have many tasks assigned to it as well. And in the same way, we have our user where a user can have many tasks assigned to it. And when you have a one-to-many relationship, the way that you connect these is on the data collection where you have the potential many relationship side. You want to put relationship fields that reference the ID of the related record that you're correlating it to. And so in this case, we're referencing the ID of the status that is the status of this task. We're referencing the project ID if there's a project that this task is directly assigned to. And for the user as well, we're referencing a user ID here if this task is specifically designed for an individual user. Now, obviously right here, you're not looking at ID fields. I just want to clarify, we have certain field types that are simply for display purposes inside the data collection. So we've got our collection relationship field type here, and that is related to our task and project statuses collection, and we're displaying the status name. The way that we've set this up is that we are taking the ID that sits in this field and displaying the associated status name from that relationship record so that it's easy for us inside the studio to identify what the status actually is. If I change this field type to a single line text instead, what you're going to notice now is that the actual value that we're looking at in the data collection is no longer the readable status name. It's actually a specific ID of that record. And so this is the actual value that is stored in the database. And it's that value that we can use if we ever need to go look up information about the status that's applied to this task. We have the ID of that very specific record in the status collection, letting us go target and create a relationship between those two collections. And so the same process has been applied for our project ID as well as the user ID that we have here. Now let me show you what this looks like, not in the Bildr Studio relationships, but what that looks like in the front end. So here are my tasks page. So I am a logged in user. My logged in user has an ID. And what I'm doing is I'm filtering our task collection by the ID of the current user inside of that specific field. So let me show you what that looks like in the actual page itself. So we've got our tasks page here. We've got a repeating list element right here. Repeating list is anytime you're displaying a repetitive set of data or any information that you want to repeat multiple times, you use a repeating list element. And repeating list elements, again, are most commonly driven by data. In this case, we are going after our tasks collection, and we are filtering the assigned to user ID field by the current user info ID. So we're taking the ID of the logged in user, and then we are filtering it and displaying the tasks that are related through that one-to-many relationship field on the task field. Now let me go ahead and click into a task to edit it to show you the other relationships that we've got here. Right at the top in our edit view of our task, you're going to see a dropdown. This is our dropdown to display the status that this task is associated with. And then if I click edit, you're going to see I can also edit the project that this task is associated with, or I can say no project assigned. And you're also seeing our team member assigned field as well. And so that's the information that's driven by the relationship fields on the task record itself. And this is how you can visualize it and also create an interface in which you can edit those individual relationships in any example scenario where you need to create and maintain and potentially edit a one-to-many relationship between different collections. Another cool example of how to display the one-to-many relationship in a different way is starting from the other side. So instead of starting from the task and going to look at the project that's assigned to this task, I want to do the opposite. I want to look at a project and then I want to see the tasks that are assigned to that specific project. If we go to our projects view, we can see a list of every project that we have. And if I click on one of these, we're going to expand and see the tasks that are assigned to this project. So instead of starting from a task record, seeing the ID, and then going to look for the project, we're going the opposite way. We have a project ID, and I want to find a list of all of the tasks that this project is associated with. And that's how we're displaying these right here. Now let's go see how we created this experience through this one-to-many relationship going the other direction. So I've got our project page open right here. And on our projects page, I'm using another repeating list element. And if I look at the data that's bound into it, I'm going to get all of the projects that are available to us. So it's just going to display every single project that this logged in user has permission to access. And I'm displaying this field one time for every project that we have. So if I click over to this row page, I can see I've got all this information right here. And right at the bottom, I've got this div and another repeating list nested inside of my project one. We're using that repeating list element in two different ways to display data based off of a filter that we're using either on the project page or the individual project page here. Let's go back to our repeating list element and figure out how we're going to get the task IDs related to this project. If I go to my data collection, I can see that I'm setting this repeating list from the task collection already. That makes sense to me. But instead of before, when I was filtering by the current user, I'm actually going to filter by the project ID relationship field that's on that task collection. And I'm able to automatically pull the project ID from this record that's already set into this page when it loads. So I've got project ID from the task collection that I'm setting, and I'm filtering by the current record field value from the project collection and the ID field itself. So let's go show you this happening inside of our project and actually show you how we're able to do that relationship. If I hover over my project collection here, I can see I've got the ID of the current record. I can see that the data collection that this is coming from is our projects collection. And then I can see all of the data about this project available to me in the form of variables on the page. And so what I've done, as we just saw in the studio, is I took the ID of our project record that was set into this page, and now I'm filtering my task collection by the project field where that ID lives, and I'm going to get all the tasks that match that. And that's how we've set our repeating list and are seeing these two task records. So now let me hover over one of our task records right here. You can see I've got my data collection name. Now it's a task collection record. I can see the ID of that current task record. And if I go down, I can see inside of this collection, I have the project ID field right here. And I can see the value of the ID matches the value of the ID on the parent right here. That's how we're creating this connection, and we're able to either from a task go look up the information about a project, or if we're starting with the project and we have the project's ID, we can go get a full list of all of the tasks that are related to that project